Welcome to another Plan 6 parts video. Welcome to another video on gapping the rocker on a TR6 engine. So, I'm doing another one because I've got some new tools, or new little tools to play with. So, I've always said I'm not a fan of the old feeler gauges. I'm not a fan of these at all. Like, I won't lie, I hate them because it's to me it's a guessing game. So I'll just rusty as well. And that'll be another thing. A bit of rust on that can make a difference in size. Anyway, so I always have keep them in case anyway, but like I'm not fond of using them. I like to do everything with the dial indicator. So I went out and I got some new dial indicators to play with. So here, I have a standard dial indicator. It's in inches. I just got this one because it's on a more flexible elbow than the one I had. Plus my other one, actually, to be honest, there's a little wheel at the side that allows it to swivel, and to be honest, that broke, so I didn't trust it. So I went out and got a new one. So, but I also went out and got one of these. So here's my new dial indicator, and it's an interesting one. It doesn't work like the other ones. It doesn't go straight up and down. It goes, how do I say it, almost left to right. So I've decided to use this instead of the one on top. And the reason why is, even though I had the dial indicator and I done this and I placed it on top of the rocker here, it was, as much as I knew was in the way of that, on the gauge it said it was perfect. Something just, I don't know, I wasn't happy because not all of these are the same. And there may be oil on it, there may be something else on it. So as much as I knew it was said, let's say the gap was 10 tau, I couldn't really guarantee it was 10 tau. It was more, well, it's probably, again, somewhere between, let's say, 8 and 12. It was pretty close, but it might not be as spot on as I think, because it's just the way the dial indicator moves with this. The more I start doing it, the more I'm thinking, I still want to get it more better. I want to get it more perfect. So I went out and got one of these instead. So I'm going to do it a different way. So this video is just showing you another way of doing it. Again, it's not, here's the best way, here's the only way. It's just my way of doing it. So to me, it's about finding alternatives to try, make it as good as they can, and you can only work with what tools you have. These are actually relatively inexpensive. In fact, this arm here is off a whole different dial gauge. This slides onto the end. So you can buy these on their own, which, to be honest, you can get them on Amazon for about $12, $13. Or you can buy the whole one. There's a whole unit for this. Here it is here. It comes with this. But it's, do you know what's great about it is it's small. This is small, which is great, because it fits on the block better when I'm doing it. But the reach is not great. But the most important thing is at the end, there's a little extra piece that I could do with to make life easier. And it's actually this section here on this one. And what it is, it actually sways up and down, and it makes a huge difference. So I may end up, if I can, swapping this out and putting this head on it instead. And then I might be able to make use of this. Just, again, only because it's smaller, it's a lot easier to fit in. However, the reach on these is so good, I can actually put it on a good spot and make it. Anyway, so we're talking about gapping the rocker. So let's take a step back on, say, what are we actually doing? So to gap the rocker, what you're doing is you're measuring the gap between the spring or the valve when it is fully closed to the gap on here. For example, this one has a huge gap. You can see moving. Absolutely huge gap there. You see, it's not meant to be like that. But I haven't set this yet. I literally put it on, I've done one, and that's all I've done so far. But here's a few key things to remember about this. If you're gapping the rocker and you put it on for the first time and you torque down your rocker arm, the whole idea is to open a valve, any one, all the way. In the book, it will tell you when you open the valve all the way, for example, I think is it, what number are we all the way? 2 and 5, or 2 and 5. If they are open, then 8 and 11 is closed. Now, how do I know these numbers? It's actually in the book. So it tells you here. If you go into your manual and you go down to the page 12, 29, 48, it tells you here. So with number 2 valve and number 5 valve fully open, you can actually check the gap in 8 and 11, and it's vice versa. So when number 8 and 11 is fully open, you can check 2 and 5. And it gives you the numbers all the way through here to follow. There's no set order you have to do it in, trust me. It just gives you all the numbers. You don't have to follow a set order. However, I'm going to tell you something that's very important to how you go about measuring these. And it's not what you are doing, it's what you are looking at. So when I put it on the first time, like I said, there's a huge gap here. So let's say, for example, I want to have this valve fully open, which would be number 4, right? So number 4, if I look back in the book again, number 4 and number 6. So 4, number 6, and then number 7, and number 9. Now, remember this. The engine is split in 2. You have 3 intakes and 3 exhausts in the front, 3 intake and 3 exhaust at the rear. When one at the front, when I say there's 2 open, it's 1 exhaust, 1 inlet is open, and at the same time 1 exhaust and 1 inlet is closed at the back, and vice versa. So I have an inlet and an exhaust open at the back, then there's an inlet and exhaust closed at the front. Pretty straightforward, okay? Now, next part is, how are we measuring if it's open? So, you could look at it and say, okay, based on this gap, right, let's go back to this again, or this one, number 4 again. If you say, well, I'll open that all the way, and it goes down, you say, well, look at the size of that gap. There's no way it could be, the valve could be pushed down all the way. That's correct. But don't get caught up with that side. Right? So we're not going to get caught up with this side of the rocker. The important part is actually this side. And what it is that you are not measuring how far the spring goes down. It doesn't make a difference if the valve is open fully, halfway, or even, well, it has to be open some way, even a third of the way. The point is, you are making sure that this push rod is to its max extension. It is on the lobe of the camshaft and is pushed up as far as it can go. So according to the engine, this push rod, number 4 push rod, is fully open. It can't push the spring down anymore, regardless where it's set. The spring is irrelevant when you're gapping it at this point, because you're going to work your way through, and the more you work your way through, then it will work out. However, for starting off, because you have to start somewhere, don't get caught up with how, oh god, the train is really loud today. Don't get caught up about how far the spring goes down to open the valve. It just means that when this valve is fully open, then this one should be fully closed, which is fine. But in reality, it's when this push rod is fully open, this push rod technically is fully closed. Like, it should be loose, there should be no pressure on it, and you're just checking the gap between this rocker arm, the arm itself, and the top of your actual the valve itself. So I hope that makes sense, because when I go to open this, and let's say number 4 was next for that big giant gap, yes, that will start pushing up, and that will be, this valve won't open very much, probably open just over 50% maybe, but it's irrelevant as long as this is fully open based on the camshaft. All right, so that's how we look at it in the way of, is it open or is it closed? So I've just done these 2 now, and this was number 2 and 6. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, 2 and 6 are fully open, and 7 and 6, 7 and 11 are the ones I check the gap for, and I'll double check the book again. I'll have to go back to it again. I forget which ones I've done because there is a rule. There's like a rule of 12 or 13. I don't follow that. I still don't understand it, to be honest. But it's like you just add 12 onto where you are, and then that's the one you end up with. I have a book. So in this case, because I'm just trying to see which valves is fully open. It looks like number 2 actually. So if I done 11 and 8, so 8 and 11, that means I've done 2 and 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So with 2 and 5, these number 2 and 5 are sitting on the very top of the lobe on the camshaft, and you will not push any further. So no matter what I do, it will only start to go back down. So that's how I know it's fully open. It's open here, not there. So we're going to move on to the next one and do the same. So sometimes what I'd often do is if I have this set, I go back and then, okay, well, I'll do these 2. The ones I just opened and closed, and I'll reset them. I don't. I just see which one opens next, and I go from there. Because again, there's no perfect way of doing this. You don't have to follow a sequence. You don't have to. You can if you want. You can work your way down and follow the book, which is 1 and 3, and I think it's 10 and 12 or something like that. 10, 12, 1 and 3, yeah. So like you can work your way that way. So you can do 1, 3, 10, 12. Then you can do it says 2, 5, and then do these ones. And you can start by splitting the engine in half, which means have all these fully closed, gap these. Then start with these. Have these fully closed and gap them. It's irrelevant. By the time you come back around, just remember where you started. All the gaps should be done, which, yeah. So I just have to remember I'll just remember number 11. Now, why is there a chalk mark on top? Well, I like to chalk it when I have it done. So I know I've done these. So when it comes back around, I'm like, did I gap them? Which one did I gap again? Because I bundle around where I go, I chalk which ones I've measured a gap for. So that's just me. You don't have to do that. All right, so let us do the next one. So I never showed you how this works. You can see them. This one works from the side, as you can see. I have to zoom in. So this one works that it will work. This is the midway point. It will work down, and it also works up. So midpoint up, midpoint down. So it only moves so far. I can push it right around, but it only measures so much. Now, the only crappy thing is that this one is millimeters. So it's not the worst. I just have to remember I have to go 2.5 millimeters. Because if you look at your feeler gauge, 10 tau is 2.5 millimeters, which means in reality on this, I'm moving 25. So it's 25 millimeters is your 10 tau. So which way is it going? This way? So if this was zeroed out, I'd be like, well, I can't hold it still. It's too sensitive. Anyway, between 20 and 30. So no matter where this is, I just add 25 and that'll give me the measurement. And I'll show you where I'm going to measure from. Because I have a new part to measure from. So, like I said, I was measuring up here at the very top. But again, because it's rounded shape and with the dog indicator on it, it never set perfect. Sometimes I used to move a little further. I said, don't get me wrong, I was able to gap it, and believe me, I was pretty close to precision with it. But I want to go that one better. So that's why now I'm going to put it in a different place. So I'll show you anyway. So next I want to see is which valve is opening next. So as usual with me, when I turn the engine, I always turn the engine to the direction it runs in. Now this one's going down. Okay. So 10 and 12 are starting to go down. So if I want to now, just cut time, I can do them, or I can keep rotating the engine around until I do the ones if I want to do ones in particular. Let's say I want to make sure that 1 and 3 or whatever, or 1 and 6 wants to be open, whatever the numbers are. I can keep rotating it to that. I just go with the next ones that go down. So in this case, one gets done here, this side go down, go this side. that side, go down, go back that side. If I'm correct, the way it goes. All right, so I'm gonna take this off. So when I measure for going down, I actually put the dial indicator on the actual spring. I don't put it on the rocker itself. I put on the actual spring, the spring. So. Doesn't make a difference which one you put it on. As long as you do it enough that when the valve or when the spring goes down, that you still have a measurement in here. So you can actually still see it. So I'm trying to adjust the camera to see. So as you can see where I put it, I actually have it sitting on the, oh god, I can't think of the name of it now. The keeper, to be sort of to say it. On these ones it's easier because it's a much flatter surface to put it on, but it's a little irrelevant. So all I'm looking for is I'm waiting for it to go down. I'm waiting for it to stop moving. So I'm going to watch the gauge, and when it stops moving, doesn't go any further, like right now, there's no pressure. Even though this is going up, there's no pressure on the spring yet. It hasn't pushed on the spring yet, but it's irrelevant. Once it does push on the spring, it will keep going. Now there's pressure on it, and it'll keep going until the gauge stops. When the gauge stops, that means your push rod is fully extended, which means to the engine, the valve is fully open. So here it goes. So it starts to go down. As I said, this is when you want to make sure that you push it down far enough, because I've done it where the spring kept going down, well, the valve kept opening, and this maxed out, and there was no pressure on it anymore. I'm like, okay, that's it fully open, and it actually wasn't. So once it's movement, I'll always go down and max it out to make sure I know that I'll know when the spring is fully open, or when this is fully up, that it's the dial indicator still has room, and that will give you the way up here. This top section, when it runs out, that's here, that rod will be pretty much flat on the bottom, and that's how you know you've maxed it out. So just keep an eye on that. That's probably a better way to look at it. So go nice and slow. So I want to make sure I can see it stopping. All right, so it's going the opposite way, so I know it's coming back up. So now it's starting to decompress. So I'll turn the engine the opposite way. Always by a good bit, so I get the tension on the chain. And start going down. Now, if I was smart, I would have noticed which number stopped at, and know when I get to there, it's going to stop, but I know I'm almost there. So, all right, there it is. It doesn't have to be ultimate precision. Once you're on the lobe, you're on the lobe, and that's not moving, you're open. So I know for a fact this valve now is fully open, regardless of what the spring is, because this push rod is up as far as it can go. Now, knowing that, I can move on to the next part. The next part is, which ones can I adjust? Which I believe it's 1 and 3. So this I can remove, or put down this end. And I will get my, so number 10 and 12 is number 1 and 3. All right. So I'm going to do 1 and 3. So it's always good to make sure this base sticks in a nice spot. Ideally I like to get it on the front or somewhere along here, depending on your engine. So should I say somewhere where there's more surface area or metal for the magnetize. That's what I was saying about the small one. It might work better because you're getting the same space here, but it's just a small one. But the important thing that it doesn't move. Okay, so now where am I going to put the gauge? Let me show you where I'm actually going to put it. So if I look at the rocker here, I'm trying to see, you can see the gap here. So, sorry if it's not focused in. So what I'm looking at doing is getting it under here. Right under here, between the very top of the stem of the valve and the bottom of this. So I'm taking my measurement from underneath the rocker, not on top. So I'm going to measure the gap that goes up. Not the, well, I'm still measuring the gap that goes up, but it's just, I'm doing it from the bottom end because it's actually flatter than it is on this curve shaped. So that's where I'm going to take it from. So let me put it on and I'll show you. So we know it has to be 10 tau, in this case 25 mil. Now I'm going to move this up this end. So again, now you can say, oh, that's well and good when it's in the car, it's different. That is correct. It's always easier when it's in the car. Always easier when it's not in the car. So that is true. So what I'm doing is, I've tightened it, but it's not touching it. It's actually not doing anything. So what I'm going to do is, I'll show you where I have it. So that's where I have it sitting there, right beside the stem. So when this comes down, and now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to adjust the height that's pushing against that. So that's why I was talking about this part here. Now I'll actually bring this up. And when I bring it up, I'm going to make sure when it's lying flat, I go more than 25 on the gauge, because then I know I have, because right where it is now is at 0. Pretty much. Right? Absolute, let's say absolute 0. It's pretty much 0. But I'm not worried about it being absolute perfect. It's not touching anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure there's pressure down on the rocker. So I'm going to push down, and now I'm going to adjust it up until I'm going to bring this up. So now it's touching off it. Now I have to make sure I go beyond 25. So I'll bring it to somewhere about 40. Somewhere about there. Alright. Now, obviously the gap is too big. It's just touching off it. So it was touching off the it was touching off the stem again, a little stuck there. So again, like I said, I want to make sure it's beyond 25. Even though I'm going to lift it here, it's gone back to 0. It's irrelevant. Alright? Because I know when it's touching it, it was pretty much at 0. When I was touching it. So as long as it's above 25, as long as it's above 25, I can get that adjustment out. Alright, so let me get my spanner and screwdriver out of my pocket. This is a 1/2 inch. So what I'll do is I'm going to screw down, or screw it until it goes like completely closed, like. Stiff. So I'm going to keep going until it's pretty much closed. Now there's pressure on it, which means there's no gap at all. So now I'm going to come back up I know it's at about 40, so if you think about it, I need 25. So it's about 40, I'm looking at somewhere about 15 or 16. So that's where I'll start to begin with when it comes back up to about 15-ish. Thereabouts, right? Just to give you a rough indicator where it's starting from. Make sure you always tighten it to where you're going to do it as if you were doing it for the first setting it. So now let's go measure it and see. So now I want to see when I look over. So now when I look over it, hopefully you can see it. The camera wants to stay still. There we go. Now you mightn't be looking at it exactly perfect, but to give it an idea, it's probably about at 39. Now I can try adjust this to bring it nearer 40. But when I look at it, it's pretty much about 39. So if I go back here and say, right, what am I at? The gap is, it's at 16. So 16 and 25. 15 and 25 is 40. So if I'm at 39 and I'm at 16, that means I'm 2 off. So I need pretty much two more millimeters. It's pretty close, but it's 15. I'm at 15 when I look at it. 15 to 39. Now, you're going to keep adjusting this. You can go to the other side. I'll always move it a few times just to make sure that I'm happy with it. Especially if I want to move it out and make sure it's not touching off it. And now that it's down here. Now I've gone up so far that it's gone to the other side of this gauge. But it doesn't make a difference, I just need to go 25. So in this case, I look at it, it's actually gone almost 11. So to go back, I'd be it's almost 11, so I'll be at 16 on this side of this gauge. So I'm at 17. So now I moved it, I'm still seeing 1 millimeter. So I have to try to find 1 millimeter, which is tough. It's so sensitive. So I'm just trying to adjust it a bit more. See where I'm at now. So it's at 11. And we're at 10. So if anything, I lost space. So $11, so 12. So if I move it, just to move it anywhere. So again, I want to make sure the numbers match. The reason why I have to move it is if it's saying it one way, I'll move it and make sure I'm getting the exact same number in a different position. Then I know it's correct and I'm not on a piece of dirt or stuck in a divot or whatever. So in this case, I'm almost at 20. Almost identical, almost level with 20. I say almost, even look at the shadow, although the light is not perfect. Me looking down it, I'm just I'm not in the middle between 20 and 21 there. I'm really almost in the line of 20. So I'm looking for 40, 45. Literally slightly after 45 down here. I am at 40, 43 and a half. So I still need a little bit more. To be honest, it seems like it barely moved to me. Sorry, you can't see it. I'm just adjusting the thing again. So 20, 40, pretty much at 45. I'm at just before 45. So again, now I'm going to move it again, just to confirm numbers. So in this case, it shows I'm pretty much practically on 10. So 35. See, I've gone a bit too far. So now I need to come back 1 millimeter inwards. Oh, hang on a second. No, I'm at 11. 11. 11:35. Again, 1 millimeter. So 1 millimeter in this it'd be less than 1 tau. So I'm probably 10 tau. So 10 tau. What's the next one? We have 10 hundredths, 10,000, 10 100. 100,000? I'm getting lost now. Pretty minuscule. I think that's pretty good. I'm pretty sure I'm just on 11 and I'm getting just about 36 as a gap. And again, you don't want to force down on it. So let me come out. When I'm doing it, I'm holding this side. That's all. You don't want to, like, I can force this down and make a bigger gap, but I'm not looking to do that. I'm just looking to see how loose it is. 11, so I'm at 11, I'm pushing pretty much 36. So is that 10 tau? I'd say 9.5 or 0.095 inches. Like it's going to be so small. The more, if I try to adjust that, I'll probably go way out and way back. So that's pretty close. That's pretty damn accurate, if you ask me. So let me just put it over here, you can see. Let me know what you think. So that is so close. So what I'll do is, I'm going to move the gauge again. So where am I at now? According to this, I'm probably nearer 1 than I am 0, so I'm almost 1. So theoretically, from this side of the gauge, I should be looking at 10, 20, so instead of 25, about 24. Look at that. Now that almost went back to 0 as I moved it a few times. So it's in between 0 and 1 to me. So it should be in between 25 and 24, and it's just at 24. That's going to be so hard to find. Let me see if I can get it. Again, go over and over. You think, oh, just be easier. And I know people are going to say, just put the feeler gauge in. It is what it is. Like it's pretty useful. And don't get me wrong, if you're good with the feeler gauges, by all means, go do it. Like I'm not against that whatsoever. I don't know if it even moves on me. So let's move the gauge a bit. I'll just move it anywhere so it's a new reading. So right now at 10. Alright, so where I stopped there was at 10. Yeah, pretty much bang on. So I found it to a degree, or to a half to 100 tau. That's pretty accurate if you ask me. Now I would have liked if this was not millimeters. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that gap. So with that then, what I'll do is I'll chalk this one. find out where I put my chalk. Where did I put it? Have to rob the kids, rob the chalk. Now again, I can put the other feeler gauge on top and try to see how close it is, but this is sort of the reason why I changed it. I was pretty happy, but at the same time, I knew I was so close, and I want to try to get precision. That's the whole point. I'm trying my best to get as precision as possible. But again, you're only as good as, like I said, if the ball is a little worn out on this side, then you're always going to have a little bit of rattle. And that's why I actually changed this rocker. The rocker I took off, one of the balls it looked like it was worn down. So it was actually sitting in the push rod a little loose. So every time I moved it, I kept getting different numbers every single time. And like I wasn't happy with it, so I ended up changing the rocker. Ideally, it'd be great to put new balls on this side, like just unscrew it and put new ones in. I have them on order, but they won't be here for a bit of time. But yeah, this is now where I want to go with it to do it. And again, I'll show you where I have it. So hopefully you can see where I'm measuring from. So see what I mean? It's pushing down on the bottom half, then on the curved one. So that's where I'm taking the measurement from. Now you can come right in on the edge there if you want. Sorry, zoomed in so much it's hard to see. Like you can put it in different places. I originally started with up here on the top, but I found again it just I wanted a flatter surface. I wanted a flatter surface to do. I even start scuffing here to see if it'll make it a little better. But I just find that under the bottom of the rocker, and let me get a rocker to show you what it looks like under there. If you've never taken one apart, if you're doing this, you probably have. So the bottom of the rocker looks like this. So you can see the flat pieces where it hits. So I'm basically taking it off the edge in here, which is probably the cleanest, not say the cleanest part. It's probably the smoothest part I can find without sanding here or putting something in here. I often try to take it from this side, but it's not a true reading because if there's any play on the actual shaft, then you can't account for that on this side. There's no way of accounting for it. At the end of the day, even if there's play on the rocker, if you measure from this side, whatever's on that side is on that side regardless. So these are the balls I'm talking about. So just unscrewing these out, getting new ones. So take off the nut, just screw it in, and you just out you go. So just push them right all the way out and change them. Great idea actually. If you ever get the rocker off, they're pretty cheap. Just get a whole new set of balls. Now, some of them you can see, if I zoom in, you might be able to see the wear and tear difference. Like this one, you can see the wear and tear compared to the other one. See the difference? One is worn in more than the other. So that's what I'm saying about that little bit of inconsistency, because at the end of the day, the balls are the same size, the valves are the same size, so why are they different? Because it just depends how much pressure is on it, and that could be simply down to the gapping being wrong, or well, it could be anything, just wear and tear, simple as that. More pressure on this side, less play or more play on one side, we don't know. But that's all the little things I'm trying to eliminate on the engines to make them as good as I can. And again, here at Planet 6 Parts, like I said, I'm not a machine shop. I mean, I can only do so many tools, and I'm going to do the best I can. But that's my new way now of measuring. Yes, it's a little tentative in the way, it takes a bit more. When you're in the car and the engine's in the car, can it be done? Absolutely. You can still do this. It's not alien in the way of that you can't get in here. You just have to sort of lean over the car, really, but you can do the exact same thing. There's nothing stopping you doing it. And it may work for you. If you have it and you have one of these, or pick one up, Oh, let me show you. Like I said, you don't have to buy a whole dial gauge if you already have one. It actually slips. I have to loosen it now. At the end of your dial gauge, there should be this little channel. Just a little channel at the end, and this has a channel on it, so I can actually slide it down this way. When it wants to go in, I can slide it down this way and tighten it. So this one's a little wider. The other one's a little bit narrower. I actually have to force it in a bit, but I can do it here and tighten it and have it this direction. Or the way I have it is I do it this way. I have it set this direction, and you just clamp it in. So if you happen to have one of these, all you have to do is buy one of them. Like I said, you can pick them up on Amazon for like $13. If you have Prime, you'll have it the next day. And yeah, I tried to find the inch one, but it's a bit more expensive. It's more like $30 for the inch one. I don't know why it's more expensive, but I can live with that. I can live with that because it's just 25 millimeters. And I know that because even though you go on the calculator and it tells you wrong, because when you look at your feeler gauge, it will tell you in millimeters what it is when it focuses in. Doesn't want to focus in for some reason. Oh, there it is there. It's 25 millimeters. Actually, believe it or not, you get this gold one on the feeler gauge. I never realized is that you get another one. There was actually, the one next to it is the exact same. You actually get two of them. See? You actually get two of them. Although it's gone rusty, you actually get two 10 tails. I never knew that. I thought the 10 tail was gold or yellow, whatever you want to call it. And then the next one was 9 and 11. It's not, it's actually 10, so you get two of them on it. Funny enough. Anyway, yeah, so that's it for there. And so I'll continue on. So that's number 1 done. And then I will now start working on number 3. I don't know what else to add into that. Just work your way along. So once I get these 2 done, I'll see which one's open next, and I'll work my way around. And I should really only have to do it 6 times because it's 2 per one. There's your 12 all in total. And yeah, as I said, it's just another tool, just another way, just another idea if it works for you. Yeah, and as usual, as I say, any comments, questions, concerns, throw it out there. Let me know. Let me know if it's a new way. Maybe you've done it this way already. Maybe you have one of these and you have another way of doing it. Again, the whole idea is about helping people do their own thing and have that knowledge and satisfaction of being able to do something. Because the way the world is now, it's about doing something, helping each other out, passing the information on, and doing something you thought you could never do before. Yeah, that's why we do this, is to not to show what we know, but show something that we can learn from, if that makes sense. Because I still watch everybody else's videos. I still watch Chef Tush, I still watch Ellen, and I watch all them. I know the last one I seen for Ellen, he was doing the dial gauge on the pedestal. So I'm going to use this as well. I know what I want to do, I just haven't done it yet. But again, it's just different ways of doing it, and it may work out. I mean, it's all about what's best for the vehicle that way. All right, that's it. Again, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.